My name is Christopher Yeager, and for the Holocaust project I worked by myself. For my project I had no idea what I wanted to do, and when I was talking to my grandmother Sandy, she gave me an idea. She explained to me an exhibit she had seen in the Washington, D.C. Memorial Museum for the Holocaust. It was a room where it goes up to a skylight, and on the wall there are pictures of people from a town that was almost entirely wiped out during the Holocaust. And I took the project and made it my own by turning it into an obelisk instead. On top of the obelisk there are 4 sides with quotes on each side. There's a total of 6 quotes. And also this little Star of David. And then on the inside for the pictures I have a total of 78 pictures. And then I also wrote an iSearch paper for this project. The paper is about 4 pages long, just under. And then for my project I researched for about a week. I started out on the computer, and when I started I had 5 questions going into it. How could the Nazis do this? How could they kill so many people? Is one question. Then I also asked what were the main techniques used for execution, how many people died from each technique, were there any unique ones, and then also which one was used the most. But going into it I learned that there was no unique ones, so that question was answered right away. And then also going through my research I was not able to find a number of casualties from each one that could be concise because they were all varying. In fact, some numbers are still going up today as mass graves are discovered. And Nazis kept no records of the people that they killed, so I have no answer for that one. But going in, I did learn that there are 4 techniques that the Nazis used. And those 4 were mass shootings, gas chambers, concentration camps and death camps, and death marches. In the very beginning, they used mass shootings, which was carried out by mobile death squads, or just squads in general, where they would go around and collect people and put them in a mass grave and shoot them. This was carried out for a long time. Sometimes they would have the prisoners dig their own graves. But eventually, people got sick of it because they couldn't do it. It was a moral dilemma. And during my research, I found a book called Hitler's Willing Executioners. It's a very controversial book because of its views, but I did find first-hand accounts from a police battalion that carried out these mass shootings. And inside I found a couple quotes, one of which made it up here, and also found several pictures which I did look up and made it in here as well. But during those first-hand accounts it gave me an idea of what people were thinking when they did it, and it's kind of shocking. But next comes the gas chambers. The gas chambers started out as trucks where they just took up the exhaust to a sealed room full of people, and the exhaust would eventually kill them because they couldn't breathe. And they used mobile killing trucks throughout the entire final solution after it had been invented. But they also added later on to the concentration camps and other places rooms that were airtight, looked like showers, where they would have people file in, and then once it was full they would seal the door, and instead of shower coming out it would be Zyklon B gas, which was a pesticide used to kill lice. It took people about 30 minutes to suffocate inside, and a lot of people died that way and then were sent to crematoriums where they were burnt. Next is concentration camps and death camps. These were places where people were worked pretty much to death. They got very little food, they got sick very easily, they were exposed to the elements, people dropped from exhaustion, people were sent to gas chambers when they could no longer work. But a lot of people also just dropped dead because they were overworked, worked to death literally. And this was the third one, and probably the most widely used one. So that answers the question of which one was used the most. And then, in the end, towards the end, the fourth one technique was used, and that was death marches. Death marches were not intended to be an execution technique, but they were used as one nonetheless. It was towards the end of the war, and Germany was losing, so they had to evacuate their facilities back towards the homeland, and they were hoping to use the Jewish people and people that they had in concentration camps as hostages. So they just basically, since they did not have the resources for cars or trains, had them run all the way there. Along the way, the guards were given permission to kill those that didn't comply or were going too slow, and a lot of people died because they were shot. But this also happened during the winter, so a lot of people froze to death because they didn't have adequate clothing, and a lot of people were still weak, so they also died from exhaustion or just passed out while running, and then got trampled by the other prisoners running over them, and then some even starved to death during this time. And so those were my 4 techniques used for the project. I looked up all 4 techniques, and this took the majority of my time finding the pictures, because there's so many pictures online. Just going through them, it was hard to find exactly what I wanted. So on the inside, I have a total of 78 pictures, like I mentioned, all showing the different techniques that they used, and it's pretty graphic going on there to show what's going on in there, but not a lot of them are graphic. I try to stay away from that, but there is a total of 78 pictures when all is said and done. And then my project also took time to build, and gluing and cutting took about 2 hours just to glue, because a lot of the pictures came loose once I was first gluing them, so I had to re-glue them. But cutting took about an hour because I had about 6-7 pages at a time that I had to cut out. And then construction, like I said, took some time. It was hard to get the top on. It didn't exactly go as planned, and I had to change my idea, and it was actually very hard to get this on here, but it did. And so for my project, I have to say that it turned out nice, but I don't like what the material is about. So this is my project, and here's my crafts.